We're doing it. We're live, coast to coast. What do you think
Most
about
of
that?
most blows.
All right.
Doesn't say
Why
we're
does
live
it
on
have
YouTube.
I just saw the tweet. It just has the very general artwork now. It doesn't even.
Your general artwork.
Anyway. You did
You are roboting like crazy, CJ.
screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're dropping
Roboting?
out like crazy. Yeah. And your video's terrible and you're just stuttering all over the place. And we all know you kicked that when you were like 12, so nope.
Greg, yeah, I don't
You
know.
should turn your video off.
Number 1 or number 2?
Still not great. I can't tell if CJ's talking. Nope.
Still can't hear me?
That we heard "hear me," and there's a kick.
Maybe just start without the video.
Maybe
So you actually hear me.
we
That
can
sounds
hear
good.
you, but you're just yeah. Keep talking. Why is he going to restart his modem? That's
Oh, are we still live though? You and I are still live.
hardcore. We're still live.
So let's do
Do you want to
like
talk
a
about
mini
shaving our
episode.
heads?
No, I don't shave my head. But let's do
you do.
a mini Greg and Kevin.
Okay. A mini
Greg
back
and
of my
Kevin
plate.
cast.
Little
Yeah,
little bimp preview.
yeah, we'll do
That's a
a
lot.
little app.
I want to say, dude, that's a lot of kettlebells over there.
Yeah, like this is my wide angle lens. So actually I have 7 kettlebells. And 2-weight vests.
That is 700% more kettlebells than I have.
Yeah, my heaviest is a 52 kg, which runs, I think that's what that would be like 113 pounds or 114 pounds. Something like that.
Goddamn, son.
Yeah, hey guys, fitness is my life. Actually, I don't know. It should still be my career, but yeah. We could talk about career stuff. We could talk about actually, I don't know. We might end up, depending on how much, there isn't like a lot to talk about this week. So maybe we can do some retro game stuff and Tokyo stuff on the show if you guys want to.
Sure. I mean, I think all we've been playing otherwise is mostly Zelda and, Blaster Master.
Yeah.
I haven't been playing that.
Podcast says, let's talk about how great the Frank Cifaldi interview was. That might come up because we ended up talking a little bit about the Disney Afternoon Collection on that show.
I am curious to talk about that a little bit, actually. I haven't listened to that episode yet. So,
yeah, Frank is, and again, there was one of those, it was like talking to you and talking to CJ for the first time. It was talking to someone that you've heard for years and that you've followed for years, but then it's like a 2-way conversation instead of just a 1-way conversation, which is awesome.
Cool. Are you saying it was a 2-way conversation? It was a 1-way conversation when you talked to us for the first time?
No, because I was listening to you guys on Player One Podcast for years. So I don't know. Like, yeah.
Is this better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sounds good now.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know what happened. Comcast, we're paying for bandwidth we're not getting.
That's surprising.
It's Comcast.
Who could have ever foreseen that?
Who would have known?
And look at Indy, aka Rex, someone that, again, we talk about old podcasts, whose name I heard on like every One-Up show for a long time and your show for a long time. Still hanging out in the chat. So asking questions.
Come play Gran Turismo with us sometime with Indy, because that's always an experience.
Like Gran Turismo 4?
No. The new one, Sport. Come on.
Isn't it X? Oh no, it's Forza
GT Sport
X or something, right?
That's the rumor. Forza X.
I haven't kept up on video game stuff much over the last week, but
all right, are we ready to start?
I've been ready for
start a new recording or
15
keep
minutes
recording?
now. I'm just keeping this recording.
I'm just keeping this one. Let's just do it. All right, we're gonna do a clap. Ready? 3, 2, 1. We did it. And there my old self goes. Okay.
Yep. Bye, old CJ.
Good. Hello and welcome to episode 541 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, March 21st, 2017. I'm your host, Chris Johnston. With me, as always, from Canada, Mr. Greg Seward.
Sitting here in the final blizzard of the winter. It is actually snowing like crazy outside.
Yeah. Damn.
Yep. It's
Yikes.
awesome.
All right. And joining us this week is the only guy we could get to guest in a pinch here from Back in My Play.
Only guy with nothing to do.
Mr. Kevin Larrabee, hello.
Oh, hello, guys. Yeah, and again, not having a job necessarily right now is proving beneficial. So maybe I just will stay unemployed for a little bit until, just so I can, be on deck. If you guys need a podcast guest, and thank you. There is no WrestleMania is next week, so thank you for not doing it.
We need you to guest next week too.
We might need you again next week.
I tricked.
Keep
it's
it
2
open
weeks
for
from
that.
this weekend.
I will not be around next week. So,
So damn.
Fair warning to all the listeners. Depending on who they get as a guest host, next week's going to be the Nintendo cast through and through.
I mean, isn't it always?
Holy crap!
Isn't it always?
Yeah, but with no voice of reason. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's great to be back as always. Thank you guys for having me on.
Well, thank you very much for agreeing to be on. So, Phil, of course, has some kind of toddler duties that he has
Toddler
to
trouble?
toddler duties he has to clean up after, literally and figuratively, I'm sure. And then Ethan has a parental issue going on as well. He
He's a
apparently
terrible parent.
he did the unthinkable. He deleted, I guess, his daughter's Switch profile, which deleted her Breath of the Wild save.
Oh my god!
And yeah, he was trying to make her an eShop account, and somehow just deleted her profile instead. So, and it took her save with it, and of course, since Nintendo's not doing cloud saving yet for whatever reason, it is irreparable. And on the Switch, of course, it doesn't save your game data to the cartridge; it saves it to the
You guys
Switch.
keep saying how it's just Nintendo, they'll catch up someday, and those of us who say that they're not as up as they should be get laughed at and say, "Oh, you're being too negative." Here you go. Cloud save would have saved the day.
No one ever uses cloud saves.
Maybe they should.
Cloud saves would have helped for sure, but nothing
bummer.
that Nintendo could do. So Ethan's taking one for the team. He's trying to make good with all that by taking his daughter to dinner.
He's giving his daughter money. He's taking her to dinner.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's good because he only just spent 2,500 or so on Switches and everything in the past few weeks. So he's got.
And I
lots
guess
of money to
it's better that it happened now versus like if she was at the end of the game or something.
I'm a little bit misinformed, like I said, with the news this week, but I swear I saw a thread on NeoGAF where someone was able to contact Nintendo support and was able to retrieve a save from their cloud system. Is that a bunch
I don't
of?
think so. So I saw that screenshot
Okay.
as well. It was like a shot of Breath of the Wild, and it had like a cloud icon next to it. But that's just because you have to re-download the game.
Oh, okay.
Or
Thank you for
re-download
the
an
clarification.
update. That doesn't mean that you can download the save. I think a lot of people were confused by that.
Okay.
But yeah. All right.
2.0.
Poor Ethan.
Poor Ethan. Yeah, and I guess as a sign of unity, he deleted his Zelda save too.
No, you're kidding.
Yeah, he did.
No, he
Starting over.
deleted it as well.
That's not rational. Come on, man.
No, that is. That's a dad thing.
I would do that too.
Yeah.
I would do that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter
That
just
is a dad
cries
thing.
if she loses at 1-2 Switch.
But that's
So-
because you
Are
laugh
you
at
undefeated again and went to switch against your daughter?
No, even if she's doing badly.
It's
So
like, you suck at games.
we were playing the treasure chest game, which is the one game of the 28 that she really likes.
Mhm.
And it involves like twisting the Joy-Cons to like untangle a treasure chest and then
Oh
open it.
yeah, I've seen that.
So she just got really upset that it looked like I was getting further further in it than she was. And granted, I'm going really slowly. I am like not even trying because I
Oh,
want her to
stop
win.
bragging! You're playing against a 5-year-old. Come on.
She got really upset. Yeah, I think she was just tired.
CJ's like, in your face, and then threw a Joy-Con at her feet.
Well, then we played table tennis, and table tennis in 1-2 Switch is all by audio cue, right? And of course, if you're 5 years old, you're just like swinging wildly, not listening for the noise. So it hit the net often when we were playing, and yeah, that was a whole scene. There was a whole scene downstairs earlier. You should have checked it out. It was pretty wild. Anyway,
I don't know how I would have. What?
I don't know either. Don't they have that feature on the internet? Aren't Samsung TVs listening in on everything? I don't know. Anyway, let's get to gaming, shall we?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I was at PAX East.
How'd that go?
It went really, really well. Adult Swim Games had a booth there. We were showing off Toe Jam and Earl, Rain World, Rick and Morty VR, Kingsway, Battleship Brigade, Katana Zero, and Duck Game.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah. See who came by. A couple listeners too. Thank you. Getting all the awesome Adult Swim games. We got Rain, PlayStation 4 and PC on.
We're just
sorry. The internet went bad as soon as the promo started.
I was going to say we were going to stop you, but you were just a commercial anyway. So,
all right. Well, I'll just say Rain World, March 28th, PlayStation 4. It's there. Still bad.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Turn off your video again. See if that works.
How about now?
Yeah, it's good.
I don't know what the deal is. It's like dial up here.
Yeah. No, this is good. This is good. Them just nicely interlaced.
It is. I like it. All right. Am I better?
I don't think this is working.
Can I continue? It's not going to work?
No, it's better.
Yeah, I mean, you said "Am I better?" but it sounded like something got cut off before that.
No, I didn't say anything before I said "Am I better?"
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good.
All right.
Okay. Well, we'll just do it like this.
We're doing it live.
Time.
Doing it live.
Oh, God. All right. PAX East, yes. So I had a bunch of games at the Adult Swim booth. Thanks, everybody, for coming by. While I was at PAX East, I saw a lot of Nintendo stuff because the Adult Swim booth was right across from Nintendo.
Nice.
So I saw the reveal trailer for the Switch and the Zelda trailer like another 2 or 3 dozen times.
That's an awesome trailer, though.
It is a great trailer.
It is that.
I like it. And I was able to sneak in before the show opened and played ARMS and Splatoon 2 and Ultra Street Fighter 2.
And
well, of course, I love Splatoon 2 because who wouldn't? It's got the gyro controls. It felt really good. I played it with both the Pro controller and the handheld mode Joy-Cons, and it was feeling really good. Played ARMS and lost horribly, but I lost to Nintendo's demo. They're like booth staff, so I don't feel too bad because they were clearly ringers.
What was it like that? But like back, aren't they supposed to let you win to like show off to people like, oh, look at how much fun it is. I'm not going to crush you.
Well, then I was really bad, which is possible.
Left Joy-Con wasn't working.
That might have been it as well. Yeah. And then I played Ultra Street Fighter 2, which actually really was kind of good. And I know
Street
Kevin,
Fighter.
You don't want me to spend $39 on it or whatever.
I told you explicitly not to spend $40 on Street Fighter 2 in 2017.
But it was pretty good. And this one has a first-person mode.
It was pretty good in 1993.
No,
like, it was really good.
I'm probably not going to pick it up.
Okay.
Probably not. No guarantees, but probably not.
Like, when was the last time for real? Like, how many versions of Street Fighter 2 do you guys own? And when was the last time you actually played one of them? Like, Greg, when was the last time you booted up Street Fighter 2? Any version, any variety.
Oh, probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, maybe.
I bet it was on the
3DS,
Sega Saturn.
3DS eShop.
I was just gonna say it was on the
3DS eShop.
It was on the Gen. No, I haven't spent
Oh.
money on a Street Fighter game since I think the HD remake came out on the 360
Okay.
as part of our live arcade. That was it. That's the last time I
Mike
spent any
Joy?
money. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the last time I spent any money on a Street Fighter game.
I think that's probably the last time I did as well.
Okay.
You're right. You're right. I shouldn't buy it. You're right.
I mean, it's not that you shouldn't buy it. It's just like I'll be interested to see how it sells because I think like even I saw some of the first person feature that they had in there, which is like looks terrible. By the way,
Yeah.
Like if I was just going to get Street Fighter 2 or Super Street Fighter 2, I would want to get an arcade perfect version, just like through Virtual Console or something like that. Like bring back the arcade Virtual Console and do it that way. I know they want to make money off it, but it's going to be really hard to justify $40 for a Street Fighter 2 again. Like I said, I'm just going to be curious to see how it sells.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Probably not well. Who knows? It looks great though on the TV. I'll say that much. And they had just announced those Mario Kart 8 features before PAX, and they were showing a bunch of those on the big screen. So the Shine Runners thing or whatever, the Cops and Robbers mode, and a bunch of the other the modes.
Can you explain some of those to me? Because all I keep hearing about is the battle mode, and I'll be honest, the battle mode's not enough for me to want to rebuy it.
Oh, it's all battle mode stuff. It's all battle mode stuff.
Yeah,
it's all like extra modes for battle mode. So
if they come out with like 2 new cups with like 8 new tracks, then I will be in.
But they're not.
Yeah,
they're not.
I know they're not.
I don't think they're going to.
That's what I need to want to get it again.
They're making Mario Kart 9.
I mean, I'm definitely buying it again.
Mario Kart 9 day one for me, but yeah, not rebuying.
I'll buy this one again. No problem.
Okay, Blair, you're saying Street Fighter 2 on the go. There's so many ways you can play Street Fighter 2 on a portable system right now,
but not on the Switch.
But not on the Switch. But is the Switch really like a portable system? It's a console that is somewhat portable.
Let's not get into that.
It on a bunch of
it is a portable console
in the last 2 weeks, so I would say yes, it's portable. It's awesome as a portable.
Yeah, I agree. I played it for 12 hours on a 14-hour flight to Tokyo. Like it was really, really great for that. And I will say, I think we talked a little bit around the time that it came out, and I was a little bit lukewarm on the console, and I actually really do like it. And I'm really like, I bought games for it. I bought I Am Setsuna in Japan. I bought Blaster Master for it, and I'm looking forward to seeing the support that it gets. But the only thing I'll say is, because I know you guys don't want to go into this, is it only magnifies the small flaws of the system because of how good this thing should be. And they nailed the big things. Like they nailed like popping it in and out of the console, in and out of the dock, and working instantly. But yeah, it's a really nice piece of hardware. I cannot wait for the iteration of it.
Well, so last week when I wasn't on, Greg, Phil, and Ethan did a sort of 2 weeks later thing, or like a week later. What do you think?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let's just do our 2 weeks later.
Okay.
Comments, because why not? Right? This is a Nintendo podcast.
Yeah, I got some stuff. If you CJ, if you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I played it on a couple of flights. First of all, to and from PAX, and then I went back to Chicago real quick for my dad's 80th birthday this weekend.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, it was fantastic, and I played The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild on all of those flights.
During your dad's birthday party?
Not during the birthday party, no. But during the flights and sitting in the airport, I played Breath of the Wild pretty much nonstop, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I honestly think that handheld mode, using this thing in handheld mode, is so good. It is a better experience in my opinion, than the Vita, than the 3DS or the DS, in part because I have large hands and playing on a flight, like I just find the system very comfortable to use. And maybe some people don't. I find it very comfortable to hold. And the screen is great. Playing Blaster Master Zero on this thing, the colors just pop out. It's fantastic. And even playing it at home, I like the quick wake up time. Like it really, you're in the game. It seems like faster than Xbox One and PS4, even though I'm sure it's only a matter of a few seconds or whatnot difference. I think it's really nice for that, and it makes great use of the HDMI CEC spec, which is called different things on different devices, but it's basically the thing that like automatically switches the input to whatever is receiving a signal. And I know on some newer televisions that is apparently screwed up with the switch, like it'll switch your input every 15 minutes or whatnot. I'm sure that's probably a software issue.
With mine, what happened, and I heard somebody else complaining about this week too, but like all my systems run through a receiver and then to the television.
Yeah.
And when I put the switch, I had the receiver on the Xbox One, and when I put the switch in the dock, it made everything go black for a few seconds. Like it wanted to take over the whole situation. But
you might have to turn that off. You might have to turn that off on your Switch, but I don't have a receiver and it works absolutely fine for me, and I love that. In terms of cons, so this thing is impossible to play on an airplane tray table. Like in the reveal trailer.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's great if you got 3 miles of leg room.
Yeah, you set it up and the viewing angle
is awful.
Terrible. You can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it on an airplane tray table in economy class. Maybe in first class you could, but you ain't doing it in.
I had a ton of room, and it was still a problem because the angle on it is poor. Yeah, and then if you can actually get it far enough back, then this picture is so small you don't want to play Zelda with your Switch like 3 feet from you.
Exactly. Theoretically, it technically works, but it was never ever going to be a realistic thing.
No, it's definitely not realistic. I mean, you'd have to buy that hoary stand that has a couple different angles to even approach that. And why would you want to? Apparently, United now has like these things in the seat back that hold tablets. So I've heard that's a really nice that the Switch.
I actually saw at EB. I saw the car, it's a holder you put on the back of the front seat of a car.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm not doing that, but that's a good idea.
No, yeah. Battery life. Let's talk about battery life. It's terrible unless you have a portable battery with you. Like playing Zelda, it drains pretty fast.
Well, here's the problem: is that the battery life is poor. Like 2.5 hours is generous. Like playing Zelda, I was able to get to. Yeah, I was able to get to like 5% battery coming off at 100% at about 2 hours playing Zelda in airplane mode with the brightness turned down a little bit. So it might have just been because I was doing some more graphically intensive parts of the game, because I noticed there's definitely, obviously you'll notice it too when you're playing Zelda, there's times when it starts to chug a little bit because there's a lot of stuff going on screen. So I might have just been spending a lot of time in an area where the processor needed to make sure that it was working as hard as humanly possible. But the problem that we run into with that is that's an issue. But the side thing is I did a lot of research on this, and the USB battery packs out there, the max you can get is 3 amps out from those things. And the problem is that 3 amps is not enough to continue to charge the Switch system. It is enough to maintain it. If you're at about 50% brightness in airplane mode, it will maintain it so you can just drain mostly from the battery, or I guess it's charging and draining, so it's staying equal. But the problem that you're going to have is that if you don't have those circumstances, you're actually going to kill your Switch before you drain your external battery, which it does at least leave room. And God, is it 1989 for Nintendo to sell a portable battery pack that fits directly to their specs for like $40 or something like that. And I'm not going to buy it, but at least you would have that option if you wanted to go on an extended trip or an extended flight that does not have USB plugs, a USB battery, or luckily I had the plug underneath my seat for the trips to Tokyo.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think it was too bad. I have an Anchor battery that I use for my iPad and iPhone, and that worked really well with the Switch. It ended up so it wasn't draining. It wasn't like staying equal. It would maybe add 1 or 2 or 3%, every hour or two, which wasn't too bad. Like it made those flights tolerable. And honestly, like it would have been the same with the Vita, and the 3DS had no charging opportunities via USB. So personally, I think it's better, but in terms of just handheld mode without a battery, yeah, the battery life's not great for sure.
Like 4 hours would be minimum, I would have thought, for this device. I was shocked with 2.
I think they can improve on that in later revisions. Personally, if you have a battery pack, it's not that much of an issue. Other thing, eShop. It does not save your credit card info. So if you want to buy games digitally, like I want to be all digital, basically, you have to enter in your credit card information
and billing, 32 gigs of space,
billing address for every single purchase, unless you do like a higher denomination or like an eShop card or something like that. So that's not great, because in previous systems, even back all the way to the Wii and DS, it would save your credit card information. So that could definitely be improved. The other thing is the lock screen. So the fact that this thing is portable, and the fact that you can just go in the eShop and use eShop credit or whatever, it'd be fantastic if the lock screen had some kind of like passcode to it. Yes. Right now it's just tap the same button 3 times and you get in. But what if you lose your Switch or it gets stolen?
I don't understand the lock screen at all.
No, time out. I heard you say this last week, Greg, and I was shocked because obviously, do you have a carrying case for this?
Yes.
Because this has happened to multiple people that I've heard on other shows and on the internet. But when I was in my bus ride back to Narita to go back home to Boston, my Switch was in my backpack in the bag, and somehow the buttons got pressed enough so it turned my Switch back on, and it was firing up the fans inside my case.
Oh yeah.
Because you just hit any button 3 times and it turns back on. So like
it has to be any button 3 times in a row.
Right, but like again, if I throw it in my bag and I don't know some stuff.
But didn't it have to come out of sleep first before you hit the 3 buttons?
No, because if you don't hit home 3 times, it doesn't take you to home. It takes you right back into your game.
Well, you have to hit either home or the power button to wake the thing up. You can't press A.
That's what I thought.
Nope. Look at right here.
Nope. I'm doing it right now. It's not waking up.
You're right.
Wow.
Edit that part.
I'm not editing that out.
Get the Men in Black things.
That was not a Liberty Lock.
No, I have noticed that if you take it out of the, like if I take it, because I do carry it to work with me, and if you take it out of the cradle and don't pay attention, it's easy to put the thing in your case without noticing that it's on.
That's true. Yes.
But
that's what I did. I unplugged it from the charger and then put it in there. And when I unplugged it, it was in that status screen. That must have been what happened.
Yeah, that's what happened.
But no, actually, CJ, it's funny because you're complaining about it not saving your credit card information, which is a legit thing. But actually, I feel 100% the other way. I'm glad that, I guess it'd be nice to have that option, but I'm glad that it doesn't save it, because
here's the thing on 3DS and Wii U, it had you enter a password before you could actually see the credit card information. So why didn't they go with that?
Honestly, after the second time,
some kind of passcode on it. That's fine.
After the second time I got hacked on PSN, I was like, nope, no credit card information on any of my systems ever again. Not happening.
Right. But if you have an eShop balance, it doesn't prevent you from spending all of that.
Yeah, but I don't. I'm not a millionaire like you, CJ. I don't have an eShop balance.
If you have even
It's
like
like
a
might have a buck.
$10 eShop balance is what I'm
No,
talking about.
I pay for what I'm buying, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. Some kind of lock screen passcode type thing would be nice to have for sure. So that if you lose your Switch or it gets stolen,
Yeah,
then
it's the fact that it's a portable system. Like it's got to have layers of protection on that stuff.
yeah, and
Sure.
maybe that stuff is coming when we get, or if we get cloud saving or any of this other stuff that we're. I mean, Nintendo announced during their partnership with DNA that they were going to have some kind of cloud thing, and it hasn't happened yet. So that's sad and would have prevented many tears from being shed in the Einhorn household today. The other thing I want to mention is that so I don't have a screen protector on my Switch. I am that crazy, wacky person that has owned mobile phones and 3DSs and Game Boys and Vitas, and I have never put a screen protector on any of my systems and never had a problem. And the Switch is no different. I have put the thing in and out of the dock dozens of times already, and I have no issue.
Okay.
So I am not going to be investing in a screen protector, and you guys are crazy.
Okay, no. Okay, see that? Okay. So real quick, and this is something that again I listened the last couple of weeks, and I just want to make it clear, like and I'm not saying this is what you're doing, CJ, but if you don't have a problem, it doesn't mean it's not a problem for other people. Because I got my Switch, and literally within the first 3 hours of me having it, and I treat my electronics incredibly well. I'm able to always resell them in excellent condition. And within 3 hours of taking it in and out of the dock twice, I had major scratches, not on the bezel, but on the screen, because my screen protector has not come yet. And it's because this is one of the things where, like, again, God, Nintendo is so damn close with this thing. But the problem is when they choose to use plastic to cover the screen instead of some sort of glass, like Gorilla Glass, that is a huge corner that has been cut that leads to these easy to scratch screens.
Well, that's what I said right from the start, especially once they started talking about like the amount of memory on board and that sort of thing. The system's all about cutting corners, and I understand why they had to keep the price down, but it is all about cutting corners, which is why I went on that whole rant about hidden costs before. It's just, they've pared it down as much as possible. It's a really nice system, really nice hardware. I'm choking here. Really nice hardware, but yeah, like there's just a ton of little things like that all over the place.
Well, I have not had a problem, and I don't plan on buying a screen protector. So,
goddamn rebel!
I don't even have a case on my iPhone 7. Am I crazy?
You are crazy, but we all know that anyway.
But yeah, that's different. And again, like this is something that I would recommend if people want to protect their purchases. Spend the $10 to get a screen protector. There's actually really good. They finally are out. There's really good glass screen protectors that are now available on Amazon. I just ordered a pair today. And make sure that you protect your screen, because it's not just protecting from the little scratches, it's protecting from the major scratches that, for the accidents that can happen in the future. Just better to be safe.
CJ, I don't understand in a house where, did you end up keeping both Switches or did you end up getting rid of one?
I have both.
What the hell is wrong with you? Anyway, I don't understand, honestly, in a house with a 5-year-old that's using one of these things, that you would not have a screen protector on one of them. That makes zero sense to me. And I'm not a screen protector guy normally either, but normally it goes with my game systems that are like clamshell setups, like the 3DS. No, I don't have a screen protector on it. Kind of wish I did now, because I let my 4-year-old play with it, and she decided that the stylus needed to be used on the top screen, and now the top screen is just, if you put it in 3D, it's just, there's gouges all over it. But that's exactly the reason why. Like, I know the thing doesn't have a stylus, but those things are going to get dropped. They're going to get dropped, and especially in the hands of a 5-year-old, I can't believe that you wouldn't put a screen protector on it.
After 5 years of letting her use my phone and iPad,
that's glass.
She's never,
it's not plastic.
She's never broken
that's glass
anything.
too.
She's never dropped anything.
But those are Gorilla Glass. This is a plastic screen, which is much more susceptible to not only scratches, but being able to see those scratches.
We will check back in 6 months to see if I regret this or not. But so far, I'm going naked on Switch. Totally naked on Switch. Yeah.
Okay.
CJ goes in raw.
Come on.
But I have to
He's a
say,
joke.
I love the Switch. I really like it. Being able to take Zelda Breath of the Wild with me has been amazing. Like,
It's awesome.
It's been maybe the best experience I've had with a piece of video game hardware in 10 years. But
God damn it. I
I'm
hate statements
evening
like
out.
that, but
I'm
yeah,
evening out here, but I really, really like it, and I hope that it gets a lot of great third-party support from AAA. I know a lot of indies are supporting it. That Nindies event that was a few weeks ago had a lot of games that I'm already looking forward to, including 3 from Adult Swim Games, which are Duck Game, Toe Jam and Roll Back in the Groove, and Battle Chef Brigade. So I'm super excited.
If I were say I were one of the people who kickstarted Toe Jam and Earl,
yeah,
can I change my reward to the Switch version?
No comment.
We're not doing customer support here on the
You're
Player One
killing me.
Podcast.
It's not my Kickstarter. I'm not in charge of the Kickstarter.
All right.
So there you go. So let's move along.
Oh, I see. CJ gets to give his wrap up, but we can't give our wrap up.
You go ahead, give your wrap up.
All right,
do it.
Because I feel like we're going to balance things out a little bit, because I think this is very much, again, Zelda's the best, probably going to be the best game of the year. It's one of my favorite games of all time already. But
we'll talk about that one later.
We'll talk about that one later. But
I have some criticisms of Zelda.
Thank God.
Judging, don't worry, I'll balance that one out. Judging by the hardware itself, again, the problem is that Nintendo cut so many corners, there's so many missed opportunities, and it was such a sloppy launch. Such a sloppy launch.
Any hardware launch is sloppy.
No, it's 2017. No. But
any hardware launch in 2013, the PS4 and Xbox One were just as sloppy.
Okay, but when we talk about basic features that should have been implemented on the Wii U, they should have been on the Wii U 2 years ago, and they're not on the Switch on day one.
That's fine.
That's just something that I don't think we can allow to.
Well, I agree with you. It doesn't mean that they're never going to add those features.
I know, but we're giving them
the system as it is. I am very happy about.
But I'm not. You are right in your opinion that you are happy. I'm saying that my opinion of my impressions of the console are just that there were a lot of cut corners, whether it's the battery, whether it's the incredibly low-powered headphone output, which, again, I was on a plane. I could barely hear the friggin' game because of how poor the power output.
Because of the jet engine sitting 10 feet away from you?
No, but it's nothing like that.
For me, the Vita was the same way. The
Absolutely not. No, not the Vita 2000. The Vita 2000, they improved the headphone output. Like, again.
But that wasn't a launch. That wasn't the original launch hardware.
Check out the power output and decibels of the original Vita versus this, and it will be at least 30% better on the original Vita. Anyways, again, it was just a cut corners type thing, and I just can't let all that stuff pass. But I do have hope for this console I'm doing like the Bill Clinton thumb thing. I do have hope for this console in the future. I do hope that it gets a lot of support, and I'm going to keep mine because it was the sense, and again, I don't know what my future holds in the next couple months, the sense of being able to, or the ability to take friggin' Zelda and bring it with me to Japan and play it in my hotel room when I couldn't sleep, and play it on a plane, play it while I was waiting for a flight. And like, this is so damn close to being an incredible console, but there's just so many little things that kind of are inhibiting it, which, like I said, it's good enough that I'm going to continue to support it. And,
here's the thing about that. I mean, for the time being, I'm fine with some of those things not being solved. But you're right. Like, over time, Nintendo really does have to address some issues, like the Joy-Con connectivity thing, like battery life.
Yeah, I had that happen this week.
Like the headphone thing. I really would like them to have Bluetooth headphone capability. That would be fantastic. But I'm looking at what they offered at launch, and I'm really excited for where this platform is going to go, meaning that I see them revising those things in the future. If they don't, then you're right. I mean, it's inexcusable, but every hardware launch has problems, every hardware launch doesn't support everything that even Sony and Microsoft said they would at launch, like
But it's not supporting stuff
Xbox
like
One and
PlayStation
PS4.
3 could do. That's the problem.
Yeah, I
It
think
doesn't have PlayStation
CJ
3 capabilities.
I think CJ, where that argument falls down, and I agree with you. Like, there's never been a console launch that they do everything they promised they were going to do, and there's never been a console launch that's been 100% perfect. But the thing is that Nintendo keeps screwing up the same things, and they're simple things. Things like, we still have friends lists, or we still have friend codes, and all this crap. Like that's not a, oh my god, we weren't ready for launch. That's, we should have fixed this 10 years ago. Like, that's the reason why people are irritated about this. Over, yes, every launch is sloppy,
right.
but
I think you're right.
I think it's disingenuous to sit there and say, well, every launch isn't perfect. It's like, yeah, but there are basic things you can get right.
What I'm saying is that every system comes in hot like this.
Yeah, but again,
incredibly hot.
But again, I just would never want to give them a pass because, again, lacking features of a console that came out in 2006, and I know,
personally, I think it's worse that they announced that DNA partnership 3 years ago and we don't have cloud saves. That's
a great example.
Completely ridiculous, but
I had time to get it right.
They had time. They had the time. They haven't done it yet. Let's see what happens at E3. Maybe they'll have some announcement, or let's give them 6 months to a year and see what they've got.
It's like their Kickstarter. It's like their beta, and then when the product comes to retail, it'll be really good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fine being an early adopter. I mean, if you're an early adopter on any console, right, you have to accept that there are going to be some problems.
There's nothing.
It's worth $360 just to play Zelda. Like, it is.
Yeah.
Like, if you are enjoying this game like I am, it is. I could throw this in the lake afterwards.
So,
yeah, like half my Zelda time, it has been on the road. Like,
more than mine. Yeah.
If the Switch hadn't been around, I would not be anywhere nearly as far into Zelda.
I would have literally brought a Wii U with me to Tokyo if it was only out on that. Like, that's
crazy. That's crazy.
I don't think so. It's
the Wii U's not that.
It's not that
big. So for me, as far as like the second week goes, I don't know if you were done, Kevin.
Yeah, I give it a 3.
A 3 out of 5. Oh, okay.
So for the second week for me, I mean, not a lot has changed. I'm still really enjoying Zelda. I kind of made the decision last night. I got to get a Pro controller. I can't take those Joy-Cons playing. I got to get one.
The Joy-Cons suck.
The Joy-Cons in the grip, even in the grip.
Yeah, in the grip,
terrible.
I mean.
They're just
so I play most of the time on the Joy-Cons and some of the time in the grip, even though I do have a Pro controller. And I like the Pro controller, but I have no problem with the Joy-Cons.
I don't want to spend the money, but I've got a couple of coupons, like some reward zone coupons for Best Buy. So I went in today. They don't have any, of course. But I am going to end up picking one up because that is the way I play the game normally. And I was sitting there on Friday night. Actually, I stream on the Extra Life Stream Team channel on Twitch on Friday nights. By the way, if anyone wants to tune in, twitch.tv/Extra Life for Kids every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours. And I've been playing Zelda, and I'm playing using the Joy-Con grip. And by the end of that 2 hours, I was like, you know what? This is not that it's unplayable. It's just not comfortable at all. The thing is not comfortable.
I could see that.
I'm too used to using like a DualShock 4 and the Xbox One controllers. They're excellent controllers from an ergonomic standpoint. I got to get a Pro. I don't want to spend $100, but I got to get a Pro.
Even worse than that, even worse than Joy-Con and Pro controller thing, is the confirm and back out buttons being reversed from what PlayStation and Xbox are. And I realize, of course, that in Japan, PlayStation is the correct way.
I have to say, being a Gran Turismo fanboy for as long as I have been, because they never reverse those buttons when they bring those games over here. Yeah. So I'm actually kind of used to it. But yeah, it's totally backwards.
Here's another problem in Blaster Master Zero. They go back to the PlayStation convention with that. And I'm like, what the hell? That's not the way you're supposed to do it. Confirm is supposed to be A, not B. Nice. Anyway. So what else about your week 2?
No, that was really it. I
That was
mean, we can talk about Zelda. I know we are going to talk about Zelda because it's been a week since we have. But no, we can talk about Zelda later. I mean, that's just me. I mean, I've been holding off on spending that money for a Pro, but yeah, that grip, it feels cheap. It's too small. Putting the Joy-Cons in the thing does not make it a nice controller. So yeah,
No.
I got to get a Pro.
I agree with you there, but I have no problem using the Joy-Cons. It's much easier for me to use that than the Vita, honestly.
Well, I
Yeah,
would hope so. The Vita is like half its size.
The Vita is freaking tiny. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't argue with that either.
And it came out in 2011.
Well, that's true. All right, let's move along and talk about some news. We didn't talk about this. This happened the week of GDC. Microsoft announced the Xbox One Game Pass program, which is going to be $10 a month, and you get a library of like 100 games or over 100 games that you can play per month. And they're going to rotate things in and out of that. And it's not streaming, it's just download to your console and play. And the program starts later this spring.
$10 for 100 games a month. That's not it's not too shabby. I don't think I would use it. Just because my backlog is stupidly huge, but I think that's a great thing to have for somebody who just buys the system and doesn't really have much to play. Like it's, just like I thought the PlayStation setup that they had was great too. The streaming setup.
PlayStation Now. Yeah.
PlayStation Now, like that, both really great ideas. I didn't personally use either of them, but good ideas.
Xbox,
Nintendo should be doing it with Virtual Console.
But you said you haven't bought the PlayStation and Xbox versions. Why would you buy the Nintendo version?
I'm not saying I will. I'm saying it's a good idea.
Okay.
I think like this is it's one of those signs that shows like Microsoft is like they had a pretty good comeback last E3, not in 2016 but in 2015, where they really made up for a lot of the mistakes that they made with their launch. But after multiple game cancellations and poor sales of games, not necessarily hardware, but games are selling much more on the PlayStation 4 when you compare, at least here in the United States, and I'm guessing in pretty much every other territory right now. It's a sign that they really need to throw every idea up against the wall and see what sticks, because like Scorpio will be something, but it's not necessarily a guaranteed success. And the PlayStation 4 seems to be just continuing to have exclusive after exclusive. Like, guys, Persona 5 comes out in 2 weeks. Like another. No, but for
there
real,
are too many games. This has been like the February, March, and April of too many games. It's crazy.
It's insane how many incredible games are coming out on the PlayStation 4. For the rest of 2017, and Xbox. What is it going to have? Is it going to have Halo this year? Is that going to be ready? Like they have Forza again. They're not going to have another.
Not complaining about that.
But for real, like they need to do something.
They might have another Gears. It just won't be done by Epic.
There's no way they'll do Gears back-to-back years.
The issue for me with Scorpio is what do they have? And then like the last 2 Halo games that have came out were incredibly rushed and had huge problems.
Yeah.
So they can't. To me, they can't afford to rush those and not have them work right. So. Yes, I mean, what do they got? Crackdown 3 and what else?
Which we haven't seen anything of. Like that is a complete mystery what that game is going to end up being, and it's like usually not a sign of confidence when they don't show the game the next 3 years after they announce it.
I'm not that concerned about that. I think E3 will be very telling. I'm sure Crackdown 3 will make another appearance there. But am I necessarily going to buy a Scorpio for Crackdown 3? I'm not sure. Like, because Scorpio games will play on your Xbox One. Yeah. So it really depends what they're. Yeah, it depends what experience they're bringing to their new system. Whether I decide throw down the money for that. But I agree, they gotta try a little bit of everything, and Game Pass is certainly it's an interesting little wrinkle if you have an Xbox One. So $10 gets you over 100 games. That's not a bad deal at all.
Yeah, see, I think that's great. I mean, it's very close to, somebody mentioned it in the chat there. I think it was Blair Farrell mentioned it, that's really close to, feels really close to like how you feel
Rental.
with games, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I won't use it because I've got tons of games and I buy my games and I have the money to do that. But if I was a parent, say on a budget, and I could consider buying my kid one game for $70 a month, or spend $10 a month, and they have all that choice, there's no question what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and it's
That's why I
better than
think it's a great
streaming
service.
as evidenced by
caps.
By my internet problems right now during the show with broadcasting video. Streaming games would be very bad for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Alrighty. So Mass Effect Andromeda comes out this week, and I have not played it yet. I do have EA access, so I probably should download it and check it out. But the thing I wanted to talk about here is the video clips and GIFs and voice acting that have come out of the game being available to a few people early is just absolutely fascinating and amazing, because it seems like they have rushed the hell out of this game and not taken their time with the details.
I don't know who the main character is. I'm assuming it's that girl that you see in a lot of those GIFs, or I don't know if you can choose whatever main character you want, but I remember seeing her in the trailer, and there's just something wrong with her face. I can't even really put my finger on what it is. She looks like she's cross-eyed, first of all. And she has this weird grin. Like, it looks like she's got sort of this like rictus grin thing happening. I don't know. But every time I see her in any of these images, it's not even like she's not even necessarily the object of the video that's the punchline, really. But every time I see her, I just can't help but laugh. It's like I couldn't play this game. I couldn't take it seriously because every time she's on the screen, she just looks so ridiculous.
Well, it seems they had some challenges bringing the game over to Frostbite engine. So
is that what it was?
Well, I mean, yeah, they used Unreal for the previous generation, and everything was brought over to Frostbite, and it still has a very similar look. But I'm not a programmer, but I'm guessing it is very similar to having to learn somewhat of a new language, especially when it comes to optimization, because not only are there some interesting mocap issues, but there's also some performance issues as well.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously none of this stuff is easy to do, but the thing is, that would actually make a lot of sense, Kevin, because if you look at it from like their previous games, not that their characters' faces were filled with life in their previous games, but they've taken a step back.
And it looked right. They're like, when there was tons of voice dialogue in the previous games, and it looked like it matched up. And maybe this is something that is patchable. But I don't know. I feel like
I don't think so.
We'll see. But like Patrick Klepek had a really interesting article about this week about how the internet was just so quick to jump on this game and to have fun bashing it and stuff like that, which, hey, you're a customer. I guess you can do that. But it is interesting to see why they're attacking the Mass Effect property so aggressively versus, like, I don't know, there's so many other games that outside of a trilogy, they tried to reboot it. And like Halo 4 wasn't a huge success rebooting that franchise.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can't speak to all that. I just think it's funny that the problems that they have with the mocap and the facial animations and stuff. I'm sorry, but they look funny.
Yeah, they do.
It's making video games is hard. I think we all know that on the show. And I don't.
Well, I think also
personal attacks are terrible, but I mean, they look hilarious.
Regardless of the switch in engine, you have BioWare, which has set a standard, and this game does not even reach the standard that they had achieved during the 360 and PS3 era.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's what makes
Well,
it, on top of everything else, it makes it kind of funny.
But also in between time, so those games on PS3, 360 looked great, whatever. But in the meantime, you have games like The Last of Us, Uncharted, like that have really refined mocap acting in games. And then, regardless of the Switch and engine, to have a game where the cutscenes look like they do in these GIFs or videos, it's just like amazing.
Apparently, Dragon Age didn't have this problem either, right? The latest Dragon Age.
I don't.
Pardon
I haven't played Dragon Age.
Different teams, yeah, but I mean, if it's across the same company, which means generally you'd be sharing a lot of that tech. So they're not going to make two separate teams within the same company build something from scratch. That's not how that works.
Yeah, and also I don't know how much of this would really be a focus of what's going on if the initial what I guess previewers are able to talk about right now, what people are able to play with early access, like the first 10 hours of game seem to be rather boring. Which I think is
that's the bigger problem.
Why, like, if the story was really good, oh my god, like look at what we're going to this new universe and it's like all different. But people are like not talking about that. Instead, they're talking about this stuff. And Greg, I think it is worth mentioning, like, unfortunately, this is another prime example of some of the worst the video game community has to offer when it comes to the attacks that happen with this stuff. And that stuff is just constantly gross.
I think we need to separate this out, though, because I think everybody has to. But you're sort of running two conversations here, and you're running them into each other. The fact that the mocap and the facial expressions and everything are hilarious, that's fair game. If they look funny, if they look wrong, go ahead and complain about that or laugh at that. I mean, it is an issue because, as I say, there's a character there that keeps popping up in all these videos that I assume is the main character, and I know that if I was playing it, every time I see her on screen, it would take the gravitas out of anything she's saying or doing,
right?
Because she looks ridiculous. But that you're. I'm talking about that. You're talking clearly about the whole.
I ran into the other situation too quickly.
Right.
You're 100% correct.
And that's terrible. Yes. The whole thing about, the
internet pile-on.
Yeah. Gamergate's still a thing, which is awful. Absolutely. There should be no tolerance for that. There's no reason for that. There's no need for that. It's, that's terrible.
Mass Effect Andromeda in stores next week.
Well, it'll be out this week, so people will get their hands on it. I have reviews come out for this yet?
I think that's just this week.
Yeah, it's previews tomorrow. And video. But are you guys like? I loved Mass Effect 2. I never played Mass Effect 3 because I don't know why. Like I felt like 2 was good enough.
The series never interested me.
I played the first one and I never really played the other two.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it'd be interesting. Again, another interesting thing to see is how the audience reacts to this, because that is incredibly hard to, like, basically your Gears of War 3, you're basically having every last idea that you got put into that game. Every last story beat that you're going to want to have, you're putting it into that game. And then not even talking about, what was it? Gears of War Armageddon? Is that the when they made after 3?
So I don't remember.
No,
Judgment. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then Gears 4, they seem to do a pretty good job, but again, like the sales don't seem to continue on an upward track. They seem to be continuing to decline when you try to continue these trilogies. It's really hard.
That's the thing. I mean, a lot of those, I think a lot of trilogies probably peak with 2, no matter what, sales wise.
Yeah.
Whether the quality of it being whatever it is.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let's move along to talk about the Disney Afternoon Collection compilation that Capcom is bringing out in April, because, this is awesome. 6 remastered Disney NES classics. Basically, you have DuckTales 2 is on there, Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin.
Rescue Rangers 2 is on there as well.
Oh yeah, Rescue Rangers 2 also. So that's coming for Xbox One, PC, and PlayStation 4. I know there are a lot of folks out there.
The internet's upset.
What's up with Switch? But Switch just came out. Give them some time.
So I have a theory on this, but I also know that Kevin spoke to Frank Cifaldi on his show recently, and maybe he has some insight into this as far as the Switch goes.
No, like this is the deal. I think Frank made it very clear on Twitter, and like Greg, we were talking a little bit about the US Gamer article as well, where this is again like kind of a problem that I have sometimes with, the internet can be great in so many ways, but then also it can just like run to judgment and then go and attack people. And what happened was when this announcement happened, people started like blasting Mike Micah and Frank Cifaldi on Twitter. So like, why wouldn't you guys bring this to the Switch? Why isn't it coming out on the 3DS? Why isn't it coming out on this? And, it is just, makes sense to remind people that right now, Digital Clips, they basically get, a contract from Capcom that says, hey, we want you to make this game and I want you to, have copies ready for these systems. Yep. Like Digital Clips has no decision in what consoles these games are coming to. If you want to get these games on the consoles of your choice, don't spend your time tweeting to them, don't email them, don't yell at them. Go to Capcom community and let them know that you want a Switch version. I'm sure if you're very vocal and you're polite and cool about it, that's not something they're going to necessarily ignore. But yeah, that's the deal, is that people were freaking out that it is not coming to their brand new console. And I understand you want games to play on that thing. You can talk to Nintendo too. I'm sure they could also help this happen. Like they convinced Capcom to make Street Fighter 2 for the 8,000th time for the console. But again, just don't go after the developers. They're not publishing the game. The publisher makes these decisions, not the developer.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically it. And I think
the Switch is too new.
The long and short of it is exactly that. The Switch is too new, and it's something we had a conversation too, CJ, because it's something that really bothers me. And I'm not going to say who tweeted this, but there was a pre-GDC survey going around where they asked, I think, 4,500 developers which systems they're currently developing for. And the Switch was at the bottom at 4%, below the Apple Television.
It wasn't the very bottom, but it was towards
the bottom of what they showed. Yeah, it was at 4%. Apple TV was higher, and of course, mobile devices were right at the top. And sort of this was tweeted out by a YouTube personality, and just sort of, as a what the hell, like it's less than Apple TV. That's crazy. And it's like, well, no, it's not really when you consider that this survey was done pre-GDC, which is to say weeks before the system even came out. It doesn't take much research to find out that the dev kits are not easy to get yet, and nobody knew how the thing was going to do. And
especially coming off of the Wii U, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Especially if you look at, just in general, if you look at Nintendo's fortunes in general, when you take the Wii out of the equation, because it was definitely an anomaly when you look at system sales, they've been in a downward trend since the 90s. So, and the Switch is a weird, new, completely different idea. So like you're not going to take a huge chance on this just now, which is exactly what explains what's going on with this Disney thing. And Kevin's right. Obviously, Capcom is the company that made that decision, but I totally agree with that decision. Like, why take the risk yet? You don't know if it's worth it. The Street Fighter thing, I have to guess that Nintendo actually supported that a little bit.
Well, yeah, and a thing that is really cool, and you can listen to the back of my play, like whenever, I think Micah talked about this too in another episode, but with what they made with the Eclipse engine is that it is very easy to bring whatever work that they have done to other consoles. It was in the mission statement of this kind of wrapper that they built for the games that they created. So if Nintendo or, Capcom says, hey, like, actually, can you guys get this up on, the eShop or whatever? Like, how long will that take you? It's not like they're going to turn down the work. They're going to love to do that. Although they want to bring it to as many consoles as possible.
Although I will say that the only thing that worries me is that these are Disney games, which means they have a very short shelf life because that license isn't going to last forever. And all the remakes that were made previously, I think all that stuff's been delisted at this point, hasn't it? DuckTales and Castle of Illusion.
Castle of Illusion definitely was.
So if they're going to make that decision, you want to hope they make that decision soon, because they are those Disney licenses can't be cheap. So Capcom, They're not going to keep paying for it year after year after year. So this will not be available after a while. So you definitely, if they're going to get it done, they need to get it done in the next year, I would say.
I think that's true. And they also, I really like this package for what it offers in terms of features, because it has upscaling, but also the games have new features like a boss rush mode, a time attack mode, and a really, really cool rewind feature to help players who are maybe not into the challenging platformers of the past.
That is probably the biggest thing I'm happy about.
Yeah, that's fantastic, especially since it's a Disney game. Younger players are going to be playing this. It's perfect.
Yeah, they again, it's that Eclipse engine that allowed them to build all these extra features in there. Like if you played Mega Man Legacy Collection, you know about all the cool stuff that they can put in there, and also, they did a lot of work for the museum option as well, where you can go and look at some of the development art and things like that, and box art. So for $20, it's like kind of nuts how much they can put in there. And I will just say, like, you guys brought up the licensing stuff. Like, this is one of those games that, like, I know I'm not even gonna bust balls in this, but CJ, buy a physical version, because this game will be delisted, and then you will not be able to re-download it potentially.
Yep. That's if they go physical, that's the system I'll be buying it on for sure. I'm really excited too, because it really would have been easy, especially at a $20 price point, to just say it's DuckTales, Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck, and Tailspin, and leave it at that. The fact that they're including DuckTales 2 and Rescue Rangers 2 is amazing, because those were really late NES releases.
They're $200 carts.
They're super expensive, and they were really late, which means that even if you're not a collector and you're not worried about the price of them now, because they are super expensive, you probably didn't play them, because I think they came out like 93.
Yeah.
Like everyone already had the Super Nintendos for 2 years at that point. So I'm really excited with that, because I've never really played the second one of each of those. I've never really played Darkwing Duck. So I'm super excited just for those 3 games alone.
So hard.
and hey, the rewind feature, right? One thing I am curious about, and you can speak to this, I know, Kevin, is that Mega Man Legacy Collection, that definitely stuttered coming out of the gate. There were some technical issues with their whole system. A lot of audio issues I found, and but I haven't played it in a long time. I don't know if the updates have fixed all that stuff. I hope that the wrapper's in better shape now than it was then. I assume it is.
Well, to my understanding, they fixed a lot of that stuff over the weeks after release, and it was fixed for the 3DS version that ended up coming out. Like, I mostly played the 3DS version. I think it runs really well. But yeah, I mean, it's on them to make sure that these games come out working perfectly. And again, like, this is kind of the weird thing, is learning more and more about the production side. Is, it's also like, as long as Capcom gives them the time to do it right, which, from all intents and purposes, it sounds like they have, it's going to be a hell of a package that's going to run really well. And like, CJ, you brought this up remember when Nintendo announced, like, yeah, we're only going to bring out one virtual console game out a month or something like that, or we're going to give you one away.
Yeah.
Frank was on your side. I think you actually brought this up when you originally brought up your discussion of it. And I was kind of against that. And then, hearing your thoughts and then hearing Frank's thoughts, it makes a lot of sense, because when they can do stuff like this, like what they did with Mega Man and what they're doing with the Disney Afternoon Collection, this is celebrating these games. This is allowing them to come out at a time where everyone who wants to play them is going to be playing them. Everyone can talk about them. And it makes it a lot more special than just dumping a bunch, like a folder of 300 ROMs onto their servers and having you download them. So I do get that. The only thing that I hope is that it's just more than one game a month, and it's the right games. It's not friggin' 10. It's not
Urban Champion.
Exactly, like Urban Champion, stuff like that, or Dracula.
It's going to be Urban Champion.
Oh, of course, because Nintendo loves Urban Champion for whatever reason. Yeah,
they're rebooting it. It's a new third-person beat 'em up.
No,
I've never played Urban Champion.
So I mean,
not missed the thing.
This collection is great. I really, really hope that we get more retro collections that have these types of features. I think save states was one of the best things to happen to retro game re-releases, and
Yes.
the rewind feature is even better because
That
then
is huge.
it's not even having to like spam the save state thing. You just press the rewind button. It's fantastic. Actually, make use of the buttons that the NES pad didn't have anyway. So. It's fantastic, and I hope we see more stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, I can take or leave things like Boss Rush and everything. I'll never
Yeah.
ever play that. But I mean, having these in almost perfect condition with a rewind feature, oh man, I am so excited for $20.
Think of all those Capcom games. Like again, they did Mega Man, and now they're doing these Capcom games. Like Capcom has an incredibly deep library of fantastic 8 and 16-bit games that are just ripe for collections like this. So I hope this is a trend that every year we get a new digital Eclipse release.
I really hope they're knocking down doors over at Konami. I know Konami's not interested anymore, but my God, wouldn't it be great to get some great, like Castlevania collections, like Contra collections,
Sega with their Disney stuff too.
Well,
yeah.
I think you'd be surprised. Like Konami had a bunch of games on the NES Classic Edition. They're not against licensing this stuff.
That's what I'm saying. I hope someone's beating down the door over there and trying to make that deal.
And I hope Hamster, who's doing the arcade classics stuff on Switch and PlayStation 4, I hope they're looking at this and thinking about other features to bring to those games.
Totally.
So, all right. Shall we start talking about what we've been playing?
Let's talk about it quickly. Holy crap.
I think it's high time. Yeah, exactly. I want to run through my list here on Breath of the Wild. Because I'm 65 hours in.
Jesus Christ.
65
How
hours.
are you 65 hours in? I'm like 40 and I have nothing to do.
I'm 65 hours in. I've got we're going to try to avoid spoilers. But according to some of the major metrics of the game, I'm 3/4 of the way through.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
some of those goals. And I spend a lot of the time just really wandering around the map, honestly. And it's been great. This game has an amazing sense of discovery. I mean, the game really puts little things everywhere. You're walking towards one goal, and you have like 6 different things pop up, and you're
what are you laughing about,
Greg? For hours.
I cannot disagree more. That is my biggest complaint about this game. So let's get this out of the way right now. So it doesn't put nearly enough little things everywhere to make up for the ridiculous size of the world.
Oh, the world is huge.
No, it doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
A lot of the things are maybe like shrine quests or side quests that you don't you may initially just run past and not even realize are there.
And that's fine. And I like talking about like GTA games or something like that. Like that's always the reason why it takes me forever to finish those games, because I want to go from A to B, but there's a million things to do along the way.
Right. Which Zelda
doesn't have that.
You don't have to do that in this game.
I know you don't have to, but Zelda doesn't have that, not the way it should. For the size of the world, there's not enough in it. It is way too sparse. I went from, and I mean, spoilers, I guess. Just as an example, because it kind of hit me again. I mean, I just spent a lot of time in Zora's Domain. Okay. Lots of stuff to do around there. That's great. Like when you're in a central hub in that game, there's a lot of stuff to do. And I loved it. Like I was climbing the mountains around it looking for luminous stones and going to fight that ridiculous monster at the top of the hill that I realized after dying a few times that I shouldn't try fighting at all.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Diving off the hill into the water is great, and checking out the waterfalls and all this great stuff. Lots of great stuff. Got the full Zora armor. Loved it. It's like, okay, I think I've sort of wrung this area dry at this point, which, because it's Zora's Domain. Anyway, so it's like, okay, I'm going to head up to, what is it, Akala?
Yeah.
To get to Robbie. So I climb up the mountain. The place I'm going is, an hour away? It feels like an hour.
Oh, it's not an hour away. It's like 15 minutes.
15 minutes of walking and doing nothing.
Use the run button. Use the run button. I don't know if you've
I
seen it.
do.
It's labeled B on your controller. I know the
do,
Joy-Con
and
buttons are.
I'm sorry, but it's not. It's just doesn't. It doesn't. There's it. There's way too much distance between interesting things in that game. I'm sorry. When you're in a hub,
I don't agree.
it's fantastic, but between the hubs, it's like you're like I went up and I jumped off a cliff and I'm soaring down. So I mean you're gaining a lot of ground just doing that to begin with,
Sure.
right? You're passing through a lot of space. Found a shrine because that I could see from the cliffs. Did that, and then had to walk from there to Akala, and nothing happened for 10 minutes.
So if there's a road that goes there, there's usually a stable. Why don't you get a horse?
There was a stable. There was literally a
Ride.
stable. It was literally the only stable between there and Akala is about a minute away from Akala.
Yeah.
From where you're trying to get to.
You know you can fast travel in this game too, right?
Not to places you haven't been.
Well, that's true, but
So that's what I'm talking about.
okay.
And actually, it's funny because I was thinking about that because I don't like to use fast travel in these games because of all the things you can discover, right?
Mm-hmm.
In GT, I don't remember if there was fast travel in GTA, but the thing is I would never use it in these games or even in like Assassin's Creed.
You don't use fast travel in Assassin's Creed.
Well, I only ever played the first one. I only ever played the
Oh my
first one.
God, I can't even imagine.
The thing is, and here's where it would fix the problem. If they made horses easier to find in this game or more frequent, it would fix a lot of the problems. Because right now, when you're going
pretty frequent later, I'll just say that.
They're frequent later, but we all said that Final Fantasy 13 got good after 10 hours. That doesn't help the problem.
Oh my God.
Oh, this is not.
I'm not saying it's not a good game. I'm telling you what I don't like about it. And the thing is you can say there's lots of stuff to do. There is a lot of stuff to do because the game world is massive. But the thing is that it keeps putting you in these situations when you have to discover a new area. It takes too long to get where you're going all the time. And I don't agree. It's completely unbalanced.
I don't agree with that. But that's okay. Let's go on. All right. Second point in my my list here. This game has changed the way that I play Zelda because ever since Ocarina of Time, the way that I have traditionally played a new mainline 3D Zelda game is with a strategy guide. And usually when fighting a boss, I would look at the strategy guide first, see like general things. Okay, I have to do this, and then go for it. So in this game, instead of doing that, when I have to face a boss of one of the divine beasts, what I do is I just eat a meal to give me a ton of temporary hearts.
Yeah.
And just figure it out myself. And that has been extremely rewarding to not have to reference a guide all the time, which
loved the first divine beast. Really enjoyed fighting Soggy Ganon there, whatever he was called.
Soggy Ganon.
Really
Water Blight.
Really enjoyed that fight as well. It is interesting. You're right. It changes the way you play Zelda because before it was when you got to a boss, you use whatever the item was that you got in that dungeon, which obviously doesn't happen anymore. So you really have to think a lot differently. Where it's like, wait a minute, what is my entire arsenal? Like I have all these runes and all this. I have all these abilities now. What's going to work here?
Yeah.
So it was a good. I really liked it.
Not only what's in your arsenal, but what powers you have. And
right.
I usually check out. I bring up stasis and magnesis and see if there's anything in the area that I can interact with on a boss or even in just a general level.
Yeah. Now, sorry, I'm going to go back to this. There are people in the chat talking about how you see horses 4 hours into the game. Yes, I know that. But when you go to Zora's Domain and you leave, I don't think it's possible to take your horse with you.
I haven't been on a horse. 5 minutes in this game. Maybe 10 minutes in this game I spent on a horse, and the rest I've walked.
Yeah, actually, one of the things I want to bring up is that I don't like the horses because
really
the fact that you get them is great.
Combat on the horses is terrible.
Combat on horses is okay.
See, I just run by them.
But my problem is that I'll get a horse from a stable, start riding it somewhere, and then I'll get to the point where I can't bring the horse to wherever I'm going.
Exactly.
And then what do? I have to leave the horse there.
Something happens.
I can't like call up the stable and say, "Hey, come get my horse," and have them like bring it back to the stable. I have to worry about riding it back to a stable later, which I don't really like. So I would use horses a lot more if you could just like send them away, or I don't know what you do, but I don't use them as much as I want to be. Except there's like 2 areas of the game that are big open fields, and I use them there.
Okay.
So
All
anyway,
right.
I'm about to explode.
So
okay.
the
Well,
other
sorry, I'm gonna say one more thing just to get Kevin really worked up now.
do it.
Screw how unbalanced the combat is in this game too.
I don't agree with that either.
I have been one-shotted so many times in this game, it drives me crazy.
Okay. How many hours are you in, Greg? Oh, you said like
I don't know,
20?
like 20.
All right. Okay.
It's time to get good.
Yeah, it is time to get good.
No, it's time to have a better ramp up to difficult
Do you
enemies.
have a shield? Are
Yes.
you using defensive moves like jumping
Yes.
out of the way? And
Yes,
are you getting the rush attacks?
it's great. You'd be fighting a bunch of bokoblins or whatever the hell they're called, and just sort of tearing through them, and then come over a hill, and suddenly there's something that sees you, rushes you, and kills you, and you're done.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. That definitely
You
happens.
can't say
But
that doesn't happen, because it does happen.
but go into the fights with a little more preparedness. Scope out the situation.
Preparedness for what? How do you know what's going to happen until you die the first time?
I don't know. I haven't been running. into
Kevin's
that.
just losing his shit. I love it.
often.
This is great.
So I will say here's another plus, just because Kevin's gonna lose his shit if I don't mention something positive. When you kill an enemy, it drops a bunch of stuff. And what I love that it does is it drops the parts separate from the weapons. So if
Yes.
you run over, you can easily pick up the parts and forget about the weapons. So
Yeah.
in so many other games where you were picking up loot, I accidentally pick up whatever piece of crap thing I don't want. The fact that this separates the weapons, which are often, I have my inventory full, so I'm not going to be able to pick that up anyway.
That's another fun part of the game. Keep going.
That's another fun part of the game.
because you gotta play it, dude. Play the game. Listen to Reggie.
All right, here's another positive thing. When you drop an item, so let's say you're in front of a chest, you open it up, it's a weapon, you can't take it, and you have to close the chest. If you open your inventory and drop an item, it drops it behind you so that you can't possibly pick it up again by accident, which is absolutely fantastic. And so many games do that absolutely wrong. Another thing that I love is some of the humor and animation in this game.
Yeah,
there was a
and it's like sexual.
There was a really funny. There's a funny shrine. This is towards the beginning of the game where this woman, you're stepping around her flowers. I don't know if you.
I ran into her.
I did not play that one.
Okay,
Dude,
so
geez,
there's
chill
a
out.
really funny image that somebody tweeted out of them just like pulling a flame arrow back, about to shoot her fire or flowers. And the look on her face is priceless as you're doing this. Like, the fact that those little touches are in there are absolutely fantastic. There's a mission in Gerudo with some hilarious animation that I love. The fact that it autosaves. So before in Zelda, you had 3 slots and whatever. This autosaves, and you can go back.
It's very generous.
You can go back to a save fairly easily, which is absolutely fantastic. The other thing that I found was super interesting is some areas of the game you can't save in. Like, there's some areas of the game where they're like, okay, you are trying to cheat by saving your game here so that you can restart right here instead of from the beginning. And
there are areas that are somewhat like they're kind of separate areas. Like, it basically says when you enter this place, it is going to be completely different than everything you've done up until this point.
And saving is knocked out, which is fantastic, actually.
Okay.
Like, it's kind of amazing, and I love the fact that they do it because they knew that I was going to cheat. And likewise, in shrines and some other areas that prevent the save spamming, you can't use amiibos. So I think we've been talking about amiibos as a way to like get a bunch of like items and whatnot. There are areas where you just can't use them, and that's fantastic too. I love taking pictures for the compendium. I don't know if you do that a lot. You can take pictures and then
these games.
set it. So there are a couple of recipes where I'm like, I really want certain items. So I'll take a picture of the item and then set my Sheikah sensor to go off when I'm near those. And those are that's fantastic. That is so helpful.
I love that feature
In such a large area.
I wish, but I do wish that, like with the cooking thing, I love that if you create a dish and then you go and you look at the dish, you can actually see the recipe.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. I really wish they give you a recipe database.
I totally agree.
So helpful.
A recipe book would be absolutely fantastic. Maybe they'll do that via DLC. Who knows? All right, let's talk about bad things. And
I just did.
The first thing on my list as bad is the voice acting and the story in this game. I absolutely, positively, 100% dislike it. And they bring up early on in the game, this isn't really a spoiler, they bring up the memories that you find and you unlock or whatever. So I've been going on a hunt since I'm 3/4 of the game, or I'm 65 hours into the game. I've been going through and trying to find some of those, and they are literally some of the stupidest, like most worthless.
They are not worth the trouble it takes to find them
that I've ever seen. Like just straight up bad. Like I don't know what it is. And the voice acting, I don't like Zelda's voice at all. There are a couple others. Yeah, if I understood Japanese, I would download the Japanese dub, and
or just change your region or your language to Japanese and play it off your cart.
But then I can't use English subtitles.
Second playthrough.
Oh,
maybe second playthrough. The other thing, the inventory full message. I see that a lot. Of course, anybody who's playing this game is going to see that a lot. And there is no easy way to swap an old item out for a new one. You have to go straight into the menu and
except for weapons. Weapons are easy to swap out just because you just change to a weapon you don't want and throw it. Except if you're trying to get rid of a leaf.
You could do that.
Get rid of the leaf that way. But everything else you can, because that is exactly how I do it. For bows and shields, no.
Okay. Well, I wish there was an easier way to do that.
I wish it just wasn't a problem.
Not liking horses. I wish there was more there.
I don't understand that whole not liking horses thing, but okay.
Well, what I like about the horse mechanic in this game is that once they're on the road, you don't have to steer them as long as you're calming them or whatever.
They're trained. Just get a trained horse.
But they don't take you everywhere you want to go, and that's fine. But then getting rid of the horse once they've delivered you to the spot where you're going to start climbing, like that's difficult. Anyway. And it would be difficult in real life. I'm not saying it's not realistic.
God, don't start.
All right, can we just get real for a minute?
We have been,
because you guys have been talking about this game for 3 weeks, and I've just been talking to my dog about it.
Also, by the way, I bought all the amiibos. Of course, you can't see me playing with the amiibos.
Let me say, by the way, much love to Nintendo for jacking up the prices of the amiibo for this game.
They didn't jack up the price of the amiibos.
They're more expensive than regular ones.
Are you sure about that? Maybe in Canadian money.
Pretty sure.
That's probably true. But of course, if you're trying to eBay, or if you're trying to get any of the old Zelda amiibo, good luck, because the prices on those have gone through the roof. Anyway, go ahead, Kevin. Get real with us.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to make sure that this is dialed in, but this might be Nintendo's best game.
What? I agree with that.
It might be the best game.
I think I will.
Oh, hey, can I explain, or do you want to just like make this a fucking?
That is an indefensible statement. Go ahead.
No, it's not. No, Kevin's right.
Let me
Kevin's
just,
right.
Let me just make sure I explain myself.
Call Ethan. He's gonna want to hear this.
Give me a second. Yeah, the Switch sucks, but the game's great. Play it on the Wii. So really, what I want to say is that it is. I've been playing games for a long time. I'm 31 years old, and this is the first game that perpetually gets better as you play it. And there are very few games that can do that. And this is why I was kind of asking you, Greg, like, how far are you into it? Because the game starts off really hard. You are very vulnerable with the limited equipment, both in weapons, both in clothing that you can wear. And you are encouraged to explore. You're encouraged to find more of those spirit orbs or whatever they're called.
Yes.
So you can get, what I did is, and I was talking with John Riccardi about this out in Tokyo. He actually did like the exact opposite, where I went very heavy into heart containers at the start. So it took me a lot longer to get around, but I had heart containers. And
I've heard this.
and when, now I'm actually going much more. I think I have 10 heart containers. I have a full row of heart containers, I believe. And now I'm going mostly into the endurance, or stamina, I should say. But this game is so incredible. And it's like the combat, I don't love it, but it's okay. Yeah. The going and fighting in the beasts, I would much rather have dungeons, to be honest. I'm not finding those very enjoyable.
I would agree with that.
If anything, like the boss battles are really cool, but the actual, like, it's just a bunch of puzzles where I like a mixture of.
They're not memorable, really.
No, they all look exactly the same.
Definitely not memorable.
No, and
really, yeah.
So again, I'll balance this out a little bit, but it is unbelievable how. What's the best way to put this? The options that you have for situations is nuts. Like the way that you can address multiple situations. Like a lot of people complain about hating to go and like you have a bunch of enemies surrounding a chest. And what I do now, even though I can fight them, but I just kind of want to be stealthy, is I will actually find a vantage point or go behind them and use magnesis and just grab the chest off it and pull it away, and I'll never fight them, but I can still get like the 100 rupees or whatever's in the chest.
My favorite is dropping the chest on them.
I spam them with bombs. I find a plateau that I can climb up to, and I just spam them with bombs.
Oh, it's takes forever. But also, I thought it was really intimidating in the start, where you basically had no direction, and I thought that was going to be a huge negative for me. Like, I kind of like being directed in games. That's why I like Yakuza 0 has been great, because it basically, like, here's a blinking dot. Go to the blinking dot. If you find something cool along the way, great. But I found myself just wandering this world, and time after time, the oh shit moments I would run into would constantly be topped. Like, I would run into someone and be, oh my God, like this enemy that's just in the middle of nowhere, just hanging out by himself, not really like for any reason. I just stumble on this thing, or I stumble on this architecture or this puzzle or this and it cannot be undervalued. Talk all you want about the performance of the hardware. This game is absolutely beautiful. It's the most beautiful game I think I've ever played. Maybe Persona 5 will beat that, but for art design and what they're doing with the graphical capabilities of this hardware, 25 to 30 frames per second notwithstanding, is awesome. And I will say, I agree with you, CJ, on the voice acting. I think the story and the concept of the story and the homages to previous games and worlds is just so fun as a lifetime Legend of Zelda fan. Like, to stumble on things and just like almost this, like, it's like I can kind of relate this to The Last of Us, like the stories that are told in the environments. Like, you don't necessarily know what happened here, but you can kind of tell based on the environments that you're running into is just so special how you can get soaked into this world. You mentioned the writing. The writing is top notch. I'm surprised, you stumble on, this isn't a spoiler, you stumble on a fairy and how that fairy talks to you and how it becomes unlocked.
Took all my damn rupees.
Takes your rupees, but it is so interesting. Like, it feels like a Japanese game from the 80s with how much sexual innuendo there is in the game.
I'll agree with you about the writing. I think the writing's good, except for the cutscene, the memories. I don't like the memories whatsoever. I think you're right. Like, the allusions to previous games, it's fantastic. Like, I love all that stuff. I don't like the cutscenes at all.
And maybe this is like the big thing is, like, again, they talk in the story so much about the Master Sword, like this sword that the hero once carried, and now you don't have it. Like, it's somewhere in this world. You don't know where it is. And you sometimes run into people with like rumors about it, or they'll tell you a story about it, but they don't tell you where this thing is. And I think I stumbled on it, but I can't get to it for some reason, which I won't talk about. But the fact that can happen is incredible. The fact that you can just stumble upon these massively powerful items just out of nowhere is really cool that stuff can happen. The different stories that I've heard from you and from other podcasts that are just the order people are finding these things in. Like, I didn't find a fairy until 30 hours into this, so I wasn't able to
Me
do
too.
right. And
Really?
I also
Yeah.
because
The
if
first
you
fairy
don't
spring I
go
had
if
was
you don't go to certain areas, you might not find it. Like the Kokori, like the seed person, I was not able to find that person for 35 hours into the game. I just
Really?
found him again for the second time.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
had like all these seeds, and I'm like, I'm never gonna find this guy. I was searching for the forest forever. Like I spent hours just searching for the forest because like I need to unlock
Wow.
more weapon slots. And then I just stumble upon him as I'm walking into a town. I'm like, you could potentially play the rest of this game and never find him again. And that's okay if you did that. And that's the possibility
Yeah.
that you could do that is nuts. And I think that is it just goes to show what they were able to do in 5 years, and they're completely justified in taking that much time just with all the little systems that are in this environment, all the little things. And Greg, I disagree with you. There are tons of little things scattered throughout this world. There are things that I've stumbled upon that I don't understand, and I don't know if I'll ever understand in this playthrough.
Well, here's another thing
I
I'll
would-
mention.
I-
Here's another thing I'll mention real quick about the emptiness of the world. I think as you continue to play and as you continue to activate side quests, some of those areas that are empty when you go through them the first time will not be empty later.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's
Oh, come
There's
on.
where-
No spoilers in the
no.
chat. Come on,
There's
guys.
where
Hold
my-
on. Chat, chill
there's
out.
where my argument. There's where my argument comes from, though. Okay, is that I'm sure that's the case. I'm sure that's the case. But it's like when you think back to something like I think it was Bungie with Halo. There was I forget exactly what they called this, but it was like the gameplay loop that they talked about, where it's like I think they said it was every 30 seconds.
of fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like 30 seconds of fun. Then you're on a you're sort of calm for a little while, and then you get that peak again. My contention here is that those peaks are too far between in this game. That's all I'm saying.
Not for
If
me.
it gets better later on, it gets better later on. I'm not saying that's not the case. And having finished the first Divine Beast, CJ, you and I have talked about this a little bit, and the ability you get, which I'm not going to say what it is, it does change things, and it changes things for the better. And I agree with you 100%. And it does make the game feel different.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying that
It's like that through the rest of the game, too. Like,
okay,
you stumble onto
but the
something
thing
and
is that you've got
changes.
this. See, the thing is like, I guess Kevin, you're saying the best Nintendo game ever made. I think that's. I do not agree with that at
it's
all.
the
I
best game
think
that
it's the
they've
most
ever made.
ambitious they've ever made. I think it's the most ambitious thing they've ever built. But the problem is that by giving all these freedom and giving all these systems, yes, you've got the sense of discovery, which is great. But then I feel like you're not able to take advantage of what Nintendo's greatest strength has been for the last 30 years, which is extremely tight, focused gameplay.
But
that ramps
that's
up.
not the game
that
they
ramps
made.
up I agree. I'm saying the same thing. That's not the game they made. That ramps up perfectly with the player. Here, it's because it's all thrown into the same place, and you can go do whatever you want. It doesn't feel as cohesive.
But that's some of the magic is like when you stumble on something, like you mentioned that enemy that's near the Zora domain, like where you're just like, oh shit, there's no way I can deal with this. You stumble on like monsters in this world that are so gigantic that you are just like, there's no way I can even attempt this. But you can explore, you can get more heart containers, you can get better abilities, you can get better equipment, and then you can go back and do that. It is nice to know. Like, you go play the original Legend of Zelda. You go to certain areas in that game. Like, if you went right to the cemetery, you get your ass kicked. You go to the place where, like, there's those lion dudes that shoot the swords out. You get destroyed in 2 seconds. Like, this is that game on a much larger scale.
But that's my problem. The
Yes.
scale is too big for how much content is in it.
I disagree with that.
Saying. That is what
I
I'm saying.
disagree.
In what you just described, that would take a couple minutes to discover and realize not to go there.
Yeah, because it was
In this game, it takes an hour.
and it's 2017 now.
And the other thing is
I'm
because
also
you've got
happy that this game presents its map as completely open. It's not like Assassin's Creed or whatever, where they like reveal everything as a point of interest. You have to find the points of interest. And if you see a pattern in the ground and you're like, oh, what's this? Like, there's going to
Love
be
that.
something up with it.
Sure.
And you see a tree stump with a glyph on it. You're like, oh, what's this? I'll stand on this thing. And oh my gosh, this happened. Like, or, oh, there's a bunch of statues here. What
I'm
am I
not
supposed to do
yeah.
here?
I'm not arguing
Like-
any of that. I agree with that, and I'll sit here and say it's a great game. I'm not saying it's not a great game. I've said before, like, a lot of the stuff that happens is incredible. I agree. I agree with the lack of dungeons. The Divine Beasts are not a good replacement for those. But I'll also say that the reason that they couldn't do the type of dungeon that you're talking about, Zelda, that were great in Zelda before, is because of this freeform gameplay. You go in there with so many abilities, they can't track which weapons, which abilities you have. They can't do it. They can't control it. And that's what I'm saying. That's what Nintendo has always been best at. So this is something, and the fact that it's so good is a tremendous testament to them, to that team, because it's not something Nintendo's used to, and it's super ambitious. But it's not without its flaws, is all I'm saying. And the flaws to me right now, speaking as someone who doesn't have tons and tons of time to play every night, the lulls are too big for the peaks.
So
that's all I'm getting at.
to me, even as a player in your shoes, where don't have a lot of time to play at night or whatever, like I load up the game, look at the map, find a blank area that, oh, maybe I haven't been there or whatever, and I put a pin in that point and I walk there, and I stumble upon at least 10 things on the way there. There might be something at that point. Like, that's how I'm playing the game.
Sure.
I'm not necessarily worried. Like, for the first 30, 40 hours, I had only done one dungeon. Like, that's crazy. I was just, tackling shrines as they came along, and some of them I wouldn't do right away and I'd come back to. But that's the way I played the game, and I found it incredibly rewarding. And I am not generally open world games kind of bore me because of almost exactly what you're talking about, where it's so open that you don't have goals and you're bored through it. Like, I see that issue with other games, and you're right.
I see
but
that issue.
in this game, it's different for me because it's Zelda. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that maybe it's because it's Hyrule, and also, again, I think I have a certain, I don't know what it is about like this, the art design of the graphics in this game, but I have fun just kind of like walking around and climbing up a mountain and then just looking around and seeing, kind of like almost doing what CJ is doing. Like, I climb up to the highest vantage point that's near me. I look around, and if I spot something that looks cool, I go to it. And
when you get to a place on a mountain where there is something, like you are climbing up that mountain and you crest the mountain and you get the full view of what's on top of that. It's just like, oh my God. Yeah.
It's the times that doesn't happen that bothers me, I guess. And the amount of time it takes is all I'm saying. Really, honestly, this game is this generation's Zelda 2. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. What I mean by that is it's a crazy departure from traditional Zelda games.
Yeah.
But a much better departure than Zelda 2 was.
Well, no, I disagree there, because and somebody just said it in the channel, and I think they're absolutely right. It's gonna divide people forever. 10 years from now, we're still gonna be talking about, seriously.
Yeah. It's the best reviewed game of all time right now, right?
Actually, it really surprised me.
Zelda 2 review.
It really surprised me how well this thing reviewed, because of exactly the problem that Greg is bringing
agreed.
up.
Especially when you consider that these games are normally reviewed by people who don't have the time to exploit something.
That's right.
This size.
Yeah. And I wonder why that is. Like, and I know a lot of people jumped on Jim Sterling for giving it whatever and knocking down the Metacritic score, but I'm actually like quite surprised that more people didn't find flaws in the game. And even though I say that I don't like the voice acting or the memories, I'm still right up there with Kevin. Like,
I'm going to go ahead and say it.
One of the greatest games I've ever played.
The reason why people didn't find flaws or complain about flaws is because it's a Zelda game from Nintendo. And
are you sure? Come on,
are you sure? They get a pass. I'm sorry, they get a pass. They do. They always have.
Okay,
They always
but talk to me once you're 80 hours in, because I think it honestly, like I said, it gets better.
I'm sorry,
Don't-
but when you
don't
when
say
you
that, Kevin.
when you
Don't say
something
that.
like talk to me when you're 80 hours in, you just proved my point.
No, but talk to me. No, I mean, like, talk to me when you've finished the game and when you've been able to.
No, I'm sorry. I will not wait 80 hours to have fun with this.
You don't have to wait. You could beat it in 30 hours. You could beat it in an hour and a half.
You could beat it in 52 minutes, according to the speedrun.
Right.
And by the way,
speedrun
I'm
record.
not saying I dislike this game. I'm telling you what I see are major flaws. But when you start saying things like "talk to me when you finish it" and "talk to me when you're 80 hours in," dude, sorry, no.
Well, I'm saying it because I'm saying that maybe because you will stumble upon something or something will click because it may happen where you like get the gameplay loop that you're looking for.
Absolutely, I'm looking for it, and so far I've played it 20 hours. 20 hours is a long time.
Do you not like it?
And I haven't seen it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm saying that I don't like it as much as other people seem to like it. I said it last week. When the game is great, it's great. I mean, it's really great. It's brilliant, the things that can happen in this game. I love the fact that you can approach things from a million different angles. And what I said last week still stands. For the amount of content that I've seen in the 20 hours I've had, if the world was half the size, I wouldn't have this complaint.
Yeah, okay.
If you're going to tell me it takes 20 to 30 hours for the game to get
that's
good,
not what
that's
what I
what
said.
you said. That is what you said. You just said
Hey guys,
literally
you
the
can
exact
hit
same
the
thing people
rewind
said
button.
with Final Fantasy 13.
No, I said
back in the
I
day.
started this conversation by saying it perpetually gets better. It continues to get better and better and better, especially as you have more heart containers and you discover like recipes that like I have recipes in a bunch of stuff that gives me like plus 10 hearts. Like it's not difficult anymore. It's just exploration.
I'm not complaining about difficulty. I haven't. I do. I think the difficulty spikes are insane, but I'm not complaining about difficulty. I'm complaining about it not respecting my time.
Well, what you need is a petition.
No, what I need is a more linear, smaller, more direct experience.
Do you think they'll do that? Do you think they'll go back to that for the next one?
I have no idea. I didn't think they would go this way with this one.
Yeah, this is not what I expected when I saw all those trailers.
Really?
It's not this open. Again,
No,
like
but this. Well, I think you're right, and not this open, just because Nintendo's never done an open world game.
like
So
I've stumbled upon areas that are so drastically different than everything we saw in the trailers, and they showed like a bunch of different climates and areas in the trailers, and I've stumbled on places like this is completely unlike any Zelda game I've ever played before, and it's something that I haven't seen in any game before, which is probably why it is so cool. And I'll take a step back. I played it for a couple hours today, and I've really been enjoying it. I think it is the most, and I think CJ, you put it this way, it's the most impressive game that they've ever made. But
it is.
If you want to talk about, the whole package, maybe, and you're also factoring time in that, it is probably, in the realm of the Super Mario Worlds, the Link Between Worlds, Link to the Past, Super Mario 64. It's probably in closer to that territory when we talk about the best Nintendo game of all time.
I think it needs time to I don't know. I think it's way too early to say something like that. You just compared it to all-time classics.
Yeah, and I think it is some of the most fun I've ever had with a game, and I had high expectations for this thing, and it's Persona 4 levels of just an absolute blast, and the feelings that it gives me while playing it, which again, that's not like something I can measure, but
well, it's another thing, like you approach an area and you're like, oh, I think I want to try this. And then you get rewarded for doing that thing.
Yeah, it's like they predicted I would do it this way, which is insane.
Right.
And the last thing I want to say is the music has been a little bit of a disappointment, but the thing that blows me away is the layers of music that you run into in certain areas and when you're about to do certain things, which it's like this came out of nowhere. Yeah. What?
The music that's there is great.
The music that's there is pretty good, and the samplers or whatever, the sound selection is pretty good. That came with special edition, but they got to get this whole thing out on like a 3-disc soundtrack.
Yeah,
it is kind of a shame that, considering that this is a series that I've read this anyway, people complaining where this is a series that the music has always been so great that you don't hear music all the time. But could you imagine a loop playing over and over again?
Oh my God, that'd be terrible.
That'd be insane.
You're right, and I think, oh God, it is just like I don't even know how to describe it. Like I stumbled upon this area and the music that played, and I just wandered into it, and the extra layer that it puts on top of the music was just like, Like I just cannot wait to go back to that part because I know the epicness of that moment of what it will be.
Yeah. All right. I think we should probably
think
stop
we
now.
get
Wait, I'm going to open
we-
I Am Setsuna right now.
we didn't get to
talk
talk-
about
That is beautiful cover art, by the way.
We
Hell
didn't
yeah.
get to talk about any other games, but I think it's warranted because Zelda is a real good video game for sure. It's a good game tape,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you've watched Nintendo's 3 video.
I've gotta watch
making of
those.
thing. I haven't watched the one that's story and characters because I honestly don't want to spoil the entire story for me, and also I don't really particularly like the voice acting in the game, but the one about the open air adventure and I think there's one about the music or something like that. Anyway, both the other 2 videos anyway that I have seen have been fantastic, and I hope Nintendo continues that style of video because it's super interesting to hear it directly from the developers, like how they approach all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see a lot of that too, because I mean, ever since when Iwata passed, it was too bad because he was doing some really cool stuff with the whole
Yeah.
Ask Iwata series.
Yes.
So it's nice to see them doing things like this still, because Nintendo does that stuff really well.
They sure do.
Better than Sony and Microsoft does. Which
Yeah, Frank got some interesting thoughts on that too. If you want to listen to Back and Play.
Yes, indeed.
I always want to listen to Back and I Play.
So before we go, I want to mention 2 things up here. One, friend of the show, Trickman Terry, former EGM tips and tricks guy. He has an arcade in Illinois, in Lyle, Illinois, the Pixel Blast Arcade. They're having an event on April 1st to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Shenlong trick in
awesome.
EGM, which is absolutely fantastic. If you go to that, you'll probably meet Trickman Terry, and you can meet the real original Sushi X, who will be there. So that'll be fantastic. I'm sorry that I can't make it to that because that sounds like it's going to be really fun. I'll put a link in the show notes to that, but there's an event page on Facebook. It's the Shenlong 25th EGM April Fool's anniversary. That's quite a tongue twister of a title there. But the other thing that I want to mention is that coming up in September, the Player One podcast is going to be taking part in Matt and Mattingly's Scoop Fest Vegas 17. And what does that mean? For those who don't know, we're going to be doing a live podcast recording of the Player One podcast in Las Vegas. It's going to be a wonderful mess. You won't want to miss it. And you can check out all the details at heyscoops.com/scoopfestvegas and check that out. We're going to be recording an episode of the podcast, and we'll be around all weekend playing games, probably on Switch and whatnot. And that'll be a lot of fun. So check that out. Huge thanks to Matt and Mattingly, Ice Cream Social, for asking us to participate in Scoop Fest 17. This is going to be fun. We've never done a live recording of the podcast where we're all together on a stage in front of people.
Yeah, that scares the hell out of me. I can't wait.
Yeah. So you'll definitely want to check that out. It's September 22nd through the 24th in Las Vegas, Nevada. I will link into more details in the show notes, and we'll be talking about it in the weeks to come. But definitely check that out. That'd be fun to see everybody at that recording. And I think that's where we cue the ending music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us or would like to comment on something you heard, something you disagree with about our Zelda talk, you'll want to direct that to @Seward or or @Kevin Larrabee on Twitter. Or
Greg said Zelda's the worst game Nintendo's ever made.
Stop.
That's not what he said. This is the guy who gave Chrono Cross a 9.5.
Yeah, see,
well.
and you know,
and
you know what happened? You know what happened? I went back and looked at that issue, and Mark McDonald wrote in the reviews intro If you have a problem with this game not getting a platinum, email Greg Seward at zifdavis.com, and that's when the death threats started.
And that's when people did. But anyway, yeah, you can direct comments to @P1 Podcast on Twitter, because we read those and retweet those and have a lot of fun with that on the Twitters. Or you can go to our internet website at player1podcast.com. There you'll find our email addresses. You'll find blog entries about Sega CD stuff from Mr. Greg Seward.
I'll do my next one when I finish Zelda. So never again.
Generation 16 episodes there as well.
Yeah, it's there. That's coming along.
And you can discuss this episode and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild with us and our other listeners at our message board there on player1podcast.com.
If you'd like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by going to player1podcast.com or to the iTunes Music Store. While you're at the iTunes Music Store, you can spend $1.99.
Cheap.
On the Player One Podcast app, gives you one-touch communication with us via email, Twitter, and everything else, plus every episode ready to stream to your listening device. And Android cell phone, telephone users, I'm not trying to do the voice Phil does, you can also spend $1.99 on the Player One Podcast app.
Also a reasonable price.
There you go.
True.
It is a reasonable price. You can find us on Stitcher. You can check us out on Facebook. You can check us out everywhere. Where else? iTunes at P1 Podcast. On Twitter at P1 Podcast. We stream live every week on YouTube at about 8 p.m. Eastern. We start usually a little late. But you can check us out there every week, and it's fun. Come watch the live show. We actually have a really great chat happening, which is just another extension of one of the things I love about our show. I've always loved the community on our website, and now, I mean, the chat that we have during our live broadcast is fantastic. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out and watching and chatting in the channel tonight. I think I have everything covered here. Anything else I should be mentioning? Oh,
I think that's
Patreon.
it. Oh, yeah.
We have a Patreon. You can support us if you want. Go to patreon.com/player1. Is it Player One Podcast or P1
Nope.
Podcast?
P1 Podcast.
P1 Podcast. If you would like to throw a few shekels our way, as Phil would say, you keep the lights on here. It goes toward a lot of maintenance of the website, of the show, and we dip into the funds a little bit to make sure that we're all playing the same thing. I would say all these great Zelda and Switch talks we've had on the show here for the past month or so are all due to Patreon contributions. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, and that is our show. I want to thank CJ.
Well, thank you, Greg,
for hosting, as always. And Kevin Larrabee, longtime friend of the show, who also has a Patreon. He's going to tell you about right now.
Yeah, I might not tell you about that, but it's really cool. You can go to thickcast.network if you want to check out any of the podcasting stuff that I do, which includes just really right before this, recorded the 11th anniversary show for the Thickcast. So if you're interested in fitness stuff, yeah, you guys already did that stuff, but you can go and listen about awesome fitness information. It's a great time to be healthier. It's never too late to start. So go and check that out if you're interested. And of course, if you like old video games, Back in My Play, which just had a new episode with Frank Stafaldi, 90 minutes on the Video Game History Foundation that he has started with Mike Micah, Steve Lynn, and others, and the incredible work that they're doing with that, how you can help. Plus, of course, as we already talked about, the Disney Afternoon Collection with Digital Eclipse, and that show continues to be an absolute blast to do. Episode 100 is coming soon, and we were going to do Zelda 2 when I was in Tokyo with John, but John has convinced me that he is going to have 2 special guests that will make this an incredibly large and potentially even podcast, like a Back in My Play X something podcast. So that would be pretty cool to be able to do. And then maybe Greg. I'll also do a segment with Greg because he'll yell at me if I don't.
Because you got to have somebody on there who likes the game.
Actually, the 3 people that will be doing it besides me are all gigantic fans, and John exclaimed that this is the only way to do the episode justice is to have these people and someone that's going to be in town. So actually all friends are yours, not people that I've necessarily all met. So that will be fun. And yeah, go check all that stuff out. I do Patreon stuff, and if you are a Patreon to Back in My Play starting April 1st, there's going to be a huge influx of additional content. and changes with that. So go and check all that out. Since I don't have a job, I'm trying to do it as a podcaster. So hopefully you can go and see what that is all about at fitcast.network, backofmyplay.com, and follow me on Twitter if you want.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
We're going to do this again next week.
We
Yeah,
will do
thank
it
you,
again
guys.
next week.
All right. Bye, everybody. I'm waving, but you can't see me.
I waved for you,
Doing
CJ.
it.
This
Okay,
is
good.
CJ's wave.
That's exactly
Actually,
how I do
CJ's
it.
wave would be more like this.
Oh, there you go. Bye.
But